Imagine walking through a silent forest in the dead of winter. Beneath the snow, hidden under fallen leaves, lies a small frog. Its body is stiff as stone, its eyes glazed, its heart stopped. By every definition we know, it is dead. Yet when spring returns, this creature will stir, thaw, and leap back to life as if nothing had happened. This is no horror story. It is real, and it belongs to one of nature's strangest survivors, the wood frog. Nicknamed nature's ice zombie, this humble amphibian can do what no mammal, bird, or reptile can: freeze solid, survive months encased in ice, and come back fully alive. When temperatures drop, the frog's body begins an astonishing transformation. Ice creeps across its skin, spreading into its organs, and even into the spaces between its cells. Its heartbeat stops, its lungs fall silent, its brain activity flatlines. To any predator, or even to us, it looks like a corpse. But deep inside, hidden in its blood and tissues, chemistry has written a different story. Sugars and special compounds flood the frog's body, shielding its cells from destruction. Instead of bursting apart like glass, its organs are preserved in a fragile balance, frozen, yet alive. It is as if time itself presses pause. In today's video, we'll uncover the bizarre science of the wood frog's frozen death and miraculous resurrection. How does it work? Why did evolution choose this impossible path? And what can this frozen survivor teach us about life, death, and the edge of possibility? Stay tuned, because reality is colder and stranger than fiction. Winter in the northern forests arrives like an invading army. It does not creep softly. It crashes down in a wave of silence and ice. The air grows sharp, biting through fur and feather alike. Streams slow, then freeze, their running voices cut off as if nature itself pressed mute. The ground hardens under frost, turning to iron. Ponds once alive with dragonflies, tadpoles, and rippling water become slabs of glassy death. Even the trees groan as cold winds push against them, their branches snapping under the weight of snow. Every sound becomes brittle, every movement costly. Survival here is a brutal calculation. Every creature must answer the question: fight, flee, or fall. Some animals prepare months in advance, stockpiling fat and food. Others escape entirely, abandoning the frozen battlefield to seek refuge far away. And many, too many, simply do not make it through the first storms. Birds are the great escape artists. They sense the coming frost and take to the skies, fleeing thousands of miles toward warmth. Bears retreat to caves, bellies heavy with autumn feasts, their bodies sinking into a dreamlike hibernation. Turtles and snakes vanish underground, buried in mud where the earth itself shields them from the killing frost. But one creature makes a choice that defies logic. The wood frog does not run. It does not dig deeply. It does not fly away. Instead, it stays near the surface of the forest floor, beneath only a thin quilt of damp leaves and moss. Its body will face the storm directly, with almost no armor against the cold. At first glance, this is madness. A shallow hiding place offers no protection from blizzards, no insulation from deadly air. When temperatures plunge, the frog is exposed. And yet, this small brown amphibian has turned apparent weakness into its greatest weapon. As autumn wanes, its body begins to change. The leaps that once carried it swiftly across the forest floor slow to clumsy hops. Its eyes lose their sharp alertness, clouding into glassy stillness. Its chest rises less often, each breath a shallow whisper. Life itself seems to drain away, not in sudden death, but in careful surrender. Then the frost arrives. A sheet of ice crawls across its skin, creeping from toes to belly, from belly to heart. Most animals would panic, thrash, and collapse. The wood frog remains perfectly still. Its blood slows, then halts. Muscles stiffen until the creature feels like stone. By morning, the transformation is complete. The frog has become a frozen statue. Pick it up, and it is rigid. Drop it, and it clinks against the ground like a piece of wood. Its heart has stopped beating. Its brain no longer flickers with thought. Its body temperature has dropped to match the icy soil beneath it. To an outsider, it is dead. No breath, no movement, no pulse. By every human measure, this is the end of life. And yet, the story has only just begun. For the wood frog, death is not the conclusion. It is a disguise. Hidden within this frozen shell, an ancient strategy is unfolding. The frog has not been killed by the ice. It has embraced it. Its body is preparing for months of suspended animation, months of silence where winter rages above, and it lies perfectly still beneath. The forest does not mourn it, nor do predators dig to uncover it. Snow falls endlessly, layering over the shallow leaves where the frog waits. Storms howl through the trees, snapping branches and covering burrows. The world above is chaos. The world below, where the frog rests, is silence. This choice, to freeze rather than flee, is unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. Where other creatures cling to warmth, the wood frog surrenders to cold. It allows itself to cross into a state that looks like death, and in doing so, it achieves what no warm-blooded animal can. True survival in the heart of winter's graveyard. The frozen forest becomes both tomb and cradle. For months, the frog will remain like this, unmoving, unbreathing, unseen. Only when the first light of spring returns will the truth be revealed. The statue will stir, thaw, and leap back into life, as if winter had been nothing but a long pause in the rhythm of existence. The secret of the wood frog's frozen survival does not lie in muscle or bone. It lies in the smallest units of life, the cells. Where other creatures collapse under the crushing blades of ice, the wood frog unlocks a hidden trick written into its chemistry. When the first ice crystals touch its skin, alarms go off inside its body. Most animals would perish instantly, their cells shredded as frozen water expands like knives. But the frog prepares a chemical flood that transforms death into dormancy. Glucose, the same sugar that fuels our morning energy, suddenly becomes a shield. The frog's liver releases massive amounts of it into the bloodstream, far beyond normal levels. Within moments, every cell in its body is soaked in sweet protection. This surge of sugar acts like a buffer. It draws water out of the cells before it can freeze and rupture delicate membranes. Instead of sharp shards of ice tearing through tissues, the frog's organs remain intact, suspended in a syrup-like solution. At the same time, a second unlikely hero appears, urea. Normally, urea is waste, something most creatures flush away. But in the wood frog, it becomes a life-saving ally. It accumulates inside tissues, slowing down metabolism and adding another layer of antifreeze-like defense. Together, glucose and urea form a powerful duo. They do not prevent the frog from freezing completely, but they control the process. Ice forms in safe spaces, between cells, in body cavities, while the cells themselves are preserved. The body hardens, but life is not destroyed. The transformation is astonishingly fast. Within hours of the first freeze, glucose levels in the frog's tissues spike by hundreds of times. Scientists who measured these concentrations were stunned. No other vertebrate is known to survive such extremes. The heart, brain, and lungs surrender first. They shut down entirely, conserving every ounce of energy. In medical terms, the frog would be pronounced dead. No heartbeat, no breath, no brain waves. Yet the frog's cells hum quietly with suspended potential. It is as if the frog rewires its very definition of life. To us, life is measured by vital signs, pulse, respiration, consciousness. To the frog, life becomes chemical balance, a hidden stasis guarded by sugar and waste. What's more, this miracle is perfectly timed. The frog does not flood its body days before the frost. It waits until the last moment, until the icy touch begins, and only then unleashes its chemical storm. This precision means it never wastes resources. It acts only when survival demands it. Scientists describe it as controlled freezing, but the term feels too ordinary. What the frog achieves is closer to suspended animation, the kind imagined in science fiction, a body that stops completely, yet somehow avoids collapse. Inside this chemical cocoon, each cell is like a seed, dormant, fragile, but alive. Just as seeds survive drought and fire to sprout later, the frog's tissues endure months of icy silence, waiting for the thaw. In laboratories, researchers see in the frog a living blueprint for cryopreservation. Could human organs be preserved the same way? Could astronauts one day sleep in icy stasis between stars? The wood frog suggests the impossible might one day be real. But for the frog itself, none of this is theory. It is instinct. Evolution has written chemistry into its blood, and with it, the power to stand at the threshold of life and death, and choose not to cross. Now begins the long silence. Winter tightens its grip on the northern forest, and the wood frog becomes a statue beneath the snow. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, yet the frog does not stir. Its heart is motionless, a stone within its chest. Its lungs do not swell, its throat does not pulse with breath. Even its brain, the organ that commands life, has gone dark. To an observer, there's no difference between the frog and a dead leaf, and yet death has not claimed it. Instead, life has folded itself inward, hidden behind walls of ice and sugar. Each cell clings to existence, suspended in a fragile truce between destruction and preservation. Above ground, the world is hostile. Winds rip through the trees, carrying shards of ice. Temperatures plunge to 8°, 17°, cold enough to shatter exposed flesh. Predators vanish into dens, birds retreat southward, and the forest grows silent, but for the groan of frozen wood. Beneath this chaos, the frog is still. Snow piles higher, insulating it in a quiet tomb. Blizzards sweep overhead, but nothing disturbs its shallow grave. It is hidden in plain sight, defenseless, yet untouchable. This frozen state lasts not hours or days, but months. From late autumn until spring, the frog remains in suspended animation. It does not eat, it does not drink, it does not move. It simply waits. Most animals cannot survive such stillness. Even hibernators keep a faint spark, heartbeats slow but steady, lungs drawing shallow breaths. The wood frog takes stillness to the absolute extreme. It does not slow its body. It halts it entirely. To scientists, this is terrifying and beautiful. How can a creature endure without oxygen, without circulation, without brain activity? The answer lies in patience, written at the cellular level. Every part of its body has adapted to accept silence. Predators may stumble past its hiding place, paws sinking into snow above. None will discover it. Even if they did, what predator would eat a frozen corpse? The frog's disguise is not only chemical, it is also theatrical. By becoming dead, it tricks death itself. Time passes differently in this icy sleep. Hours mean nothing. Days bring no change. The frog exists in a twilight state where life is preserved without living. Its pause is not rest but endurance. As spring nears, the forest begins to shift. Snow softens, trickles of meltwater thread through the soil, and sunlight lingers longer in the sky. The frog, still frozen, feels the world change before it can act. Slowly, ice inside its body begins to melt. The protective sugars and urea remain, cushioning the cells as they rehydrate. Its blood, once solid, begins to flow again in faint trickles. First, the heart quivers, weak, irregular, then steady. Then the lungs gasp, drawing in the damp air of thaw. Finally, the brain sparks awake, recalling instincts buried beneath months of stillness. To the human eye, it is resurrection. A creature that looked lifeless now stretches, blinks, and leaps. What religion calls miracle, biology explains as adaptation. Yet the wonder remains the same. The frog's pause has ended. Death was only a disguise, and life has returned with the thaw. In the frozen forest, the wood frog proves that time itself can be bent, delayed, and survived. For all its brilliance, the wood frog's strategy is not invincible. Even miracles have limits, and predators lurk on every side of the frozen forest. Survival is never guaranteed, only borrowed. From above, the sky is ruled by sharp-eyed hunters. Hawks circle patiently, scanning the forest floor for the faintest flicker of movement. In spring, when the frogs thaw and return to life, they become easy prey, hopping sluggishly and exposing themselves to talons that strike with lethal speed. On the ground, snakes glide silently through grass and undergrowth. Species like garter snakes know the timing of frog migrations. They wait near ponds, striking at the very moment frogs return to breed. To a snake, a thawed wood frog is not a marvel of biology. It is a meal. Mammals bring another challenge. Raccoons, skunks, and foxes are opportunistic hunters. When frogs emerge from hibernation in great numbers, these mammals feast, picking off the weak and the slow. Even squirrels have been known to snatch up a frog when food is scarce. The greatest risk comes not in winter, but in spring. After months of stillness, the frog's muscles are weak, its movements clumsy. It takes time for strength to return. In those vulnerable days, predators can decimate populations. Freezing itself is also dangerous. If temperatures drop too quickly before the frog has released enough glucose, ice can destroy its cells. A sudden deep freeze may turn survival strategy into death sentence. Timing always is everything. Floods and thaws present another hazard. If ice melts too soon, frogs may awaken before insects return. With no food, starvation looms. If the freeze lasts too long, the frog may never stir at all, trapped in endless winter. Even while frozen, there are dangers. A curious predator may dig into the leaves, mistake the frog for carrion, and eat it. Frozen or not, the body is still flesh. The disguise of death protects most of the time, but not always. Disease is a silent killer too. Fungus and parasites can spread when frogs gather in crowded breeding ponds. A body weakened by months of suspended life may not have the strength to fight infection. Humans add a final layer of threat. Cars crush thawing frogs as they cross roads toward water. Habitat loss shrinks breeding grounds, forcing populations into tighter spaces where predators thrive. What evolution prepared them for? Hawks, snakes, foxes. It did not prepare them for asphalt and pesticides. And yet, for every predator, the frog has an answer. Camouflage hides it among leaves, its brown and green skin blending seamlessly into forest debris. Stillness renders it invisible, a shadow among shadows. When danger presses close, a single leap may save its life. But not every leap succeeds. The forest is unforgiving, and many frogs fall each year. Only the lucky, or the strongest, reach the breeding ponds, ensuring the cycle of survival continues. Predator pressure shapes the frog's story. It is not enough to survive freezing. It must also survive the hunters waiting for its return. The miracle of resurrection is only the beginning of another struggle. In this balance of life and death, the wood frog endures. It does not conquer predators. It does not dominate the forest. It survives by numbers, by adaptation, by sheer persistence. Each frog is fragile, but the species is strong. The risks are many, but the reward is greater. For each frog that leaps away from talons or fangs, spring is a second chance. And in the endless cycle of freeze and thaw, even survival itself feels miraculous. Long before science placed the wood frog under a microscope, people had already taken notice of its strange resilience. For indigenous communities of the North, animals that could withstand the cruelest winters were more than survivors. They were teachers. Stories were told around fires, in lodges, and in winter camps, where the frog became a symbol of patience. Children learned that just as the frog endures the long freeze, people too could endure hardship by waiting with courage. In some traditions, the frog was seen as a messenger between worlds. Frozen solid yet returning to life, it embodied the mystery of death and rebirth. It crossed boundaries that few creatures could, moving from stillness back into vitality. Elders spoke of it as a reminder of cycles. Just as winter always yields to spring, so too can suffering yield to renewal. The frog's body, still and lifeless under the snow, was not an ending, but a promise. For hunters, spotting a frog after the thaw was a sign of balance. It meant the land had endured the winter, and that life would soon flood back into streams and forests. In that way, the frog became tied not just to survival, but to abundance. In northern folklore, frogs were also linked to rain and water. Their return in spring marked the melting of ice, the release of rivers, the reawakening of wetlands. To hear their chorus was to know the world was alive again. Some tales gave the frog trickster qualities. To die and come back was to play a prank on death itself. Children laughed at stories where the frog fooled foxes or snakes by pretending to be gone, only to leap away when the danger passed. European settlers, too, noticed the frog's strange habits. At first, they dismissed local tales as exaggerations. How could a creature freeze solid and survive? Yet even they began to weave the frog into campfire lore, nicknaming it the ice sleeper. As science grew, folklore gave way to fascination. What had once been explained as spirit or magic became explained through glucose and urea. But the sense of wonder never left. Even with knowledge, the frog feels more mythical than real. Artists and writers borrowed its story. To some, it became a symbol of hope, proof that life can survive even the harshest trials. To others, it was eerie, a zombie frog that blurred the line between living and dead. Modern culture embraced both views. Documentaries highlight its science, while headlines play up its strangeness. Children still gasp when told about an animal that dies in ice only to wake again with the sun. The wood frog stands as a bridge. It links folklore and science, story and biology, past and present. It reminds us that even the smallest creatures can carry lessons older than memory. For people who share its land, the frog is more than an amphibian. It is a seasonal clock, a sacred trickster, a symbol of renewal. And in that way, it continues to shape human imagination just as much as it shapes the forest's ecology. When scientists first witnessed a wood frog thawing back to life, they were stunned. How could a creature endure a complete shutdown of heart, lungs, and brain, then return unscarred? The answer seemed closer to science fiction than zoology. Researchers began to study the frog in laboratories, collecting specimens as winter set in. They froze them, measured their blood chemistry, and waited. Each spring, when the frogs awoke, the results confirmed the impossible. Glucose levels in their tissues soared hundreds of times above normal. Urea, a waste compound in most animals, acted as a stabilizer. Together, they created a biochemical shield strong enough to preserve life through months of frozen silence. For medicine, this discovery was revolutionary. Doctors dream of preserving organs for transplant, yet current methods keep them viable for only hours. If human tissues could be protected like those of the wood frog, lives could be saved on a massive scale. Cryobiologists saw the frog as a natural pioneer. Where freezers destroy cells with jagged ice crystals, the frog manages freezing with precision. By controlling where ice forms, it avoids the deadly ruptures that plague human experiments. Even astronauts took notice. Long journeys to distant planets would require humans to survive in suspended animation. Science fiction imagines travelers sleeping in frozen pods. The wood frog shows that suspended life is not fantasy. It is already real in the forests of North America. Ethicists, too, were intrigued. If humans could pause life as the frog does, what would that mean for death? Could cryonics, freezing humans for revival, be more than a dream? The frog does not answer these questions, but it proves the boundary is thinner than we thought. Laboratories now experiment with frog-inspired methods. Sugars and cryoprotectants are tested on human cells, showing promising results. Each success carries echoes of the frog's winter secret, reminding us that the answers may already be alive in nature. But science is cautious. The frog's trick works in a body small and cold-blooded, with organs that can withstand stillness. Humans are warm-blooded giants, far more complex. Translating the miracle is not simple. Still, the wood frog inspires. Students hear its story and dream of curing diseases, preserving life, even reaching the stars. Its frozen heart beats not only for itself, but for the imagination of all who learn its tale. The frog has no laboratories, no equations, no theories. It relies only on instinct, on chemistry, etched into its blood by evolution. Yet in doing so, it achieves what human science has sought for decades. In every thawing leap, it carries a lesson: that survival can be stranger than invention, and that sometimes the smallest creatures hold the greatest secrets. For millions of years, the wood frog thrived in silence, its icy trick tested by countless winters. But today, it faces challenges unlike any predator or storm it has known before. The new threat comes not from nature, but from us. Habitat loss is the first great danger. Expanding cities carve up forests into roads and neighborhoods, scattering once continuous populations into tiny, fragile pockets. A frog that once leapt freely between ponds now finds its world divided by asphalt and concrete. Roads are silent killers. Each spring, when frogs migrate en masse to breeding ponds, countless numbers are crushed under tires. Their camouflage, perfect against hawks and foxes, means nothing on black pavement. Pesticides and pollution add another layer of threat. Chemicals designed to kill insects seep into wetlands, poisoning both frogs and their food supply. The very ants and flies that sustain them vanish, leaving hunger where abundance once was. Climate change reshapes the seasons themselves. Winters grow unpredictable, sometimes too warm, sometimes violently cold. A sudden thaw can awaken frogs too early before food returns. A late freeze can trap them in death instead of dormancy. The delicate balance that sustained them for millennia grows unstable. What once seemed unshakable, a cycle of freeze and thaw, is now fragile, fractured by human hands. Conservationists race to protect them. In some regions, volunteers guide migrating frogs across busy roads, stopping traffic so that the tiny travelers can pass. Wildlife groups work to preserve wetlands, restoring the ponds that serve as nurseries for generations. Laws, too, offer some protection. Certain states now list wood frogs as sensitive species, limiting collection and trade. Public awareness campaigns teach children not to disturb them, but to marvel at their strangeness. And yet challenges remain. Unlike charismatic animals such as wolves or eagles, frogs often go unnoticed. Their survival depends on convincing people that even small, quiet creatures deserve protection. The wood frog cannot fight bulldozers or poisons. Its blood sugar miracle, perfected over eons, offers no defense against pollution. Its strategy of stillness cannot save it from climate collapse. Survival now rests in human choice. But there is hope. Each spring, as snow melts, the chorus of frogs rises once again from the wetlands. Their voices echo through forests, a living reminder that life endures. If those voices fall silent, the loss will be more than ecological. It will be cultural, symbolic, human. To save the frog is to save the wonder it carries. Its icy resurrection is not only its own story, but also ours. A reminder that survival is possible, that resilience is real, and that even in the harshest winters, life can wait and return. The future of the wood frog lies not just in science, but in imagination. As long as people believe it matters, there is hope. And perhaps, in protecting this frozen survivor, we protect something within ourselves. The instinct to endure, no matter how impossible survival may seem. The story of the wood frog is not just about one small amphibian. It is a mirror held up to life itself, showing us that survival can take forms we never imagined. In its silence, in its stillness, the frog whispers truths larger than its body. First, it teaches us that adaptation has no single path. Most animals fight the cold with warmth, with flight, with shelter. The frog survives by surrendering, by becoming part of the ice instead of resisting it. Second, it reminds us that strength is not always loud. There's no roar, no claws, no speed in this story. The wood frog wins its battle by stopping, by trusting a strategy so bizarre it seems like failure, until it works. Third, it shows us the fragility of life. Even with its incredible trick, the frog cannot resist roads, poisons, or climate collapse. Survival, no matter how strange, is never guaranteed. We are reminded that every adaptation has limits. Fourth, it gives us wonder. To see a frozen body leap back into life is to question what we know about death. It blurs the line between living and gone, proving that biology still holds mysteries more shocking than myth. Finally, it offers humility. For all our machines and medicine, humans have yet to master what this tiny frog does naturally each winter. We dream of cryonics, of space travel, of suspended life. But in the forest, a frog has already solved the puzzle. In its frozen silence, the wood frog becomes a philosopher. It tells us that patience can conquer storms, that surrender can be power, and that life is more creative than imagination. As spring sunlight melts the snow, the frog awakens once again. It blinks, it stirs, it leaps into a world renewed. And with every leap, it carries the final lesson. Reality is not only stranger than fiction, it is stronger.